it is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. Returning home from work, I went to the post office and, as usual, my mailbox was full of unnecessary mail and bills. I flipped through them and threw most of them into the trash can next to the table. There was an envelope between the visa application and the bill from Kanoko, addressed in a flowing handwriting that I knew all too well. I've been receiving one letter a month for over a year. She guessed that the mail was being forwarded to me from the old address, so she wrote and sent letters there to be forwarded to me. I met Pat at a wedding reception. The guy I worked with got married, and the whole office was invited to the wedding. After the wedding, everyone went to the reception. I had been there for about an hour when this tall blonde came in. She attracted everyone's attention and definitely attracted mine. But she wasn't alone, so I put her out of my mind. Well, not exactly thrown away. The hall was small, so she was in sight almost all the time. Maybe another hour passed, and I noticed that she seemed to be getting more and more upset about her companion. Right after the bride and groom cut the cake, I got up to go to the bathroom. On the way, I had to pass by a table where a blonde was sitting. As soon as I got to the table, I heard her say, "Bastard." No matter how softly she said it, it sounded like it was addressed to me, so I turned to her. "I beg your pardon?" She blushed and said, "It's not for you, but for this worthless piece, my beau. All he does is drink. I've been trying to get him on the dance floor since we arrived, but all he did was drink, and now that lump has left me. Although I probably deserve it, this is what I get for a blind date." Relieved to learn that she didn't think I was a bastard, I went to the bathroom and then returned to the table I shared with several colleagues. The next time the orchestra started playing, I looked at her and saw that she was watching the dancers and stamping her feet. On a whim, I got up, walked over to her and asked her to dance. She said yes, and that was the beginning of a whirlwind romance, which resulted in us getting married 3 months later. Patricia was a computer genius and worked for a large corporation as a system administrator. She tried to explain to me what she was doing, but I'm computer illiterate, so it all flew into one ear. I know how to turn on my computer and how to access the internet, but this is the limit of my computer savvy. I work as a heavy equipment mechanic for a living, and I'm pretty good at it. So soon the two of us saved up enough to make the down payment on the house. We had a wonderful marriage, at least that's what I thought. I was madly in love with her, and she certainly felt the same way about me. But in the 6th year of our marriage, something changed. When it started, I couldn't determine with any degree of certainty, and it could have gone on for quite a while before I noticed. Patty always left work with the girls for one evening a week and usually returned home by 9. I didn't notice how the time increased to 9:30, then to 10, then to 10:30, and only later did I remember those evenings. Patty started working late a couple of times a week, usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She explained this with an unexpectedly large contract with critical deadlines. They weren't suited for such a large order, and until management made some decisions about which way to go, everyone was asked to work overtime to get the order. Solutions? I asked, what kind of decisions? They want to make sure that the contract is long-term before investing in more equipment and hiring more people. And how long will it last? Maybe a couple of months. I don't know for sure. A couple of months stretched to 8 before I started complaining about it, to which she always calmly replied, "It shouldn't be that long, baby. I know you don't like it, and neither do I. I don't like carrying crates around the platform, but I promise to help." And then one Wednesday evening she called me and said she would have to work late, and was supposed to work tonight, but she had an accident and is now in the hospital, so I'll have to replace her. The next morning at breakfast, I asked, "What about Anne?" Patty looked at me in confusion, and then said, "And, oh, yes, and not very. They keep her on the stretch. Both legs and one hip are broken, and she's going to leave work for a while. The poor thing is having a hell of a time. She went on vacation with her boyfriend, and before it was over, he told her that he had found another one. On the way home, the airline lost its luggage, and now this accident. So now you're going to work overtime on Wednesdays too?" "Yes, and maybe even 1 or 2 Fridays." That's about when I started thinking about some things. Up to this point, her overtime was annoying, and that's all I thought, just a stupid bunch of incompetent managers who couldn't get their head out of their ass and solve the problem. It all started with the confusion on her face when I asked about Anne. It was as if she had lied, forgotten about it, and then had to hurry up and hide it. And if that's the case, isn't she lying about having to work late? It was then that I remembered the Wednesday evenings I spent with the girls from work and how they began to end later and later. I wonder what a computer scientist does when moving crates on a loading dock? That Sunday, everything came together for me. I was doing routine repairs on Patty's car. I changed the oil, added windshield washer fluid, and then decided to change the tire. When I opened the trunk to take out the spare tire, I found two suitcases. Curious, I opened one and found it full of clothes. The other was full of underwear, high-heeled shoes, and the like. Heels and underwear that I've never seen before. I don't know who Patty was wearing them for, but it certainly wasn't for me. So much for Patty working overtime. There could only be one reason for a few changes of clothes and all that junk in her trunk, and it definitely wasn't work-related. Sometimes I'm slow to think, but I try not to be a fool. I analyze problems, scroll through them in my head, look at them from all sides, and think about all the options before making a decision. I finished screwing on the tire, closed the trunk, and went home, determined to find out more before I did anything. Since it was the holiday season and things were pretty tense, I postponed tracking Pat until the end of the year. However, I didn't have to wait long. Patty's Christmas party was scheduled for Wednesday, and she was looking forward to it. At the last minute, I got a job that prevented me from going with her. She was upset. No, she wasn't. She was furious, and she really snapped at me, and I was no better, yelling at her in response. Now you know how I feel when you work overtime. I said I'd try to finish in time to at least show up, but that didn't seem to calm her down at all. On the day of the party, I worked hard to try to make it. The party started at 7, and after kicking ass, I was able to finish work, get home, take a shower, change clothes, and arrive at 9. I walked in and saw Patty hugging and French kissing some guy, while people were stamping their feet, banging their fists on tables and shouting, "Take a room, you too," and "Take your novel to the motel." I turned around and left, and no one even noticed that I was there. On the way home, I tried to figure out the reasons that could make her go in search of a man, but I still didn't understand anything. For God's sake, I treated her like a queen. I did my best for her. I helped around the house. I cooked at least 3 times a week and cleaned up after myself. In the evening, while waiting for her to come home, I washed a lot of laundry. I was cleaning my den and the bathroom on the ground floor next to my den. All this in addition to taking care of the house, yard, and both cars. I've never forgotten a birthday or an anniversary. I remembered the day we met, and every year on this day I gave her a postcard, the same thing, on the anniversary of the day I proposed to her. I've never even looked at other women. I did everything I could to be the best husband she could hope for, so what went wrong? The only thing I could think about was the 20 pounds I had gained in the last 5 years. Was that the reason? Was I no longer physically attractive to her? However, it didn't matter. What I saw meant one thing. We had screwed up our marriage. I loved her a lot, but not enough to make me share her, and not enough to make me fight for her. So what if I win it back from this guy? Will I be able to win it back from the next one? And the one behind him? No. As much as it pains me to admit it, Patty and I are breaking up. But I've decided one thing. 20 pounds should go away. I'll be fit when I start dating women again. I also decided not to get divorced. I'm never getting married again, and Patty and I get along great while she's playing with her lover. So I'll keep the status quo and save myself the hassle and expense of a divorce. All I have to do is pretend that I don't know anything about her lover. That evening, when she returned home, she was in a great mood and wanted to make love. It would be unnatural for me to refuse her, and besides, I was curious to know if it was possible to say that I get leftovers in bed. Surprisingly, she felt the same as she did on any of the hundreds of other nights when we made love, but damn it. It all told me that I had been a second man for quite a long time. Although I was wondering if she was trying to use me to death out of guilt, or was she getting a boost from giving away leftovers after a lover? On Monday, I went to the gym, sat down with a personal trainer, and he put together a program for me. I went to the gym on my way to work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and a month later I started running on weekends, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and only rested on Sunday. My relationship with Patty remained unchanged. She still acted like I was the one and only, well, I never showed that I knew too much. She was still working late, at least 2 nights a week, and I stopped whining about it. In 2 months, I lost 18 pounds, gained some strength, and felt pretty good. Marla and Sally, 2 girls who worked with me in the office, both commented on the change, and Sally asked me what caused it. I told her that I was trying to get in shape to be more attractive to women. And what does Patty have to say about that? We have an understanding. Oh, an open marriage? Yes. Well, stud. I'm ready if you're ready. It took me by surprise. I always flirted with Sally and Marla, and they flirted back. I never expected it to be anything other than flirting, but judging by Sally's voice, she was serious. What the hell? I said to myself, go ahead, Jerry. Knowing that Patty would be working on Thursday, I told Sally, are you busy on Thursday? Now, probably, yes. What do you mean? Choose for yourself. Okay, I'll figure something out when you pick me up. The dress is casual. I'll be there at 6:30. Okay? Marla, who was standing and listening, suddenly jumped up with the words, I have seniority here, and Sally laughed. You overslept. You lost the championship. Now wait your turn. I went to Sally's at 6:30, and she appeared in the doorway in a bathrobe. Am I too early? No. I'm already dressed for our date. And she opened her robe. She was naked except for stockings, high heels, and a garter belt. I think we'll have dessert first, then dinner, and then we'll decide what to do. She led me into the bedroom. I picked her up and pushed her back onto the bed. Come on, honey. We never had dinner that night. Sally walked me to the door, kissed me passionately, and asked when we could meet again. I can do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm ready on Tuesday and Thursday. On the way home, I stopped by work, took a shower in the locker room, changed into work clothes, and then went down to Bill's bar for a beer so as not to get out of breath, and then went home. When I got home, Patty was still awake. Where have you been? Knowing that you won't be at home, I decided to stop by the guys after work and play billiards. I hope you haven't had too much to drink, because I want you. It wasn't easy for me to fulfill her request, but I managed to do it anyway. It took me a while to get my mind off the booze. We'll have to keep an eye on this in the future. I'd completely forgotten that Patty always comes home cheerful when she's working late, and I have to make sure to leave some energy for her. For the next 6 weeks, Sally and I made love hot and hard, and then one night she told me, now it's Marla's turn, Jerry. What is it? This is our last time. I want Marla to replace me. I don't have the right to vote? Yes and no. You have a say in whether you want Marla, but this is definitely the last time we're together. You're a married man, Jerry, and I can't afford to get too deeply into you. There is no prospect for me here, so I'm releasing you. Be a good guy. We'll stay friends, and I won't have to quit my job, okay? Do you think Marla really wants to? I know she doesn't like you, honey. All you have to do is invite. Or maybe it won't be necessary. She knows we're stopping, and she can turn herself in. That's exactly what happened. On Friday, Marla came up to me and said, I heard you have Tuesday and Thursday off now. Can I have them? My first night with Marla was almost a repeat of my first night with Sally in that we didn't leave her apartment at all. There was a noticeable difference between Marla and Sally. Who am I to argue with a woman? My affair with Marla lasted 5 weeks, and then she ended it for the same reason as Sally. I'm too deep into you, Jerry, and that's not good with a married man. They both said that if I was alone, we could live together. They were both funny girls, and both were great in bed, but getting divorced to be with one of them? Not seriously. They both had an affair with a married man. Why do I need girls like that? I already had one at home. Over the next 8 months, I dated and slept with 9 different women. None of the novels lasted longer than a month, most of them only 2 or 3 weeks, but I didn't want anything long either. My home situation has not changed. Patty still worked late a couple of times a week, almost always on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so those were the meeting nights. I have no idea how much longer things would have gone the way they did if it hadn't been for a strange coincidence. It was Wednesday and I was at the gym. I had just finished my workout and was in the shower when the man who was with Patty at the Christmas party came in with 2 other guys and started changing into gym clothes. I turned off the water, dried myself with a towel, and listened to the conversation of the 3 men. It looks like the guys have moved from evening to morning. There was some kind of work-related conversation that led me to believe that they work for the same company, although not necessarily in the same office, and then one of them said, How are you doing with that fox you were at the Christmas party with? Are you still using it? I keep telling you that I'm not even trying to get into her pants. We're just good friends. Yes, of course. I'd like to make friends with her too. Damn, I'd love to be friends with her. Forget about it. She's so attached to her husband that you'd think he was golden. Come on, Mike. I saw you hugging and kissing. Like brother and sister, good friends, hugging and kissing. To be honest, she's so fixated on her husband that no other man has a chance. Bullshit, Mike. I saw you both at the Christmas party, and that kiss you exchanged wasn't a brotherly kiss. True, but that doesn't mean anything. Her husband promised her that he would come, but he never showed up. She was furious and had been drinking in addition. When she finally accepted that her husband wouldn't show up, she grabbed me and said, Damn it, it's a holiday party, and someone was going to kiss me under the mistletoe, and if it's not going to be Jerry, it's going to be you. It was the only time. I find it hard to believe. Do you want to know how obsessed she is with her husband? You know, all those shipments and overtime that everyone's trying to avoid? She works every minute to buy him a base boat for his birthday. Most of what we do with her is she asks me about engine sizes, fish finders, and everything else she plans to equip the boat with. I just hope the guy understands what a gem he found in her. Let's hurry up. I only have a playground until 7. When they left, I sat down on a wooden bench in front of the lockers and stared at the wall. Oh my God, what have I done? I completely misinterpreted what was happening, and then I let myself get worked up and lose my temper. I was doing what I mistakenly thought Patty was doing. I was cheating. I acted behind the back of a woman who loved me, and I cheated, and more than once, and with many women. The only saving factor was that I didn't reproach Patty. You're cheating, so I'll double cheat. Patty didn't know that I was cheating, and that obviously I wasn't going to do it anymore. I will do everything in my power to make amends to her, even though she will never know about it. But it didn't work out. I just wasn't the kind of guy who could cheat and then go through life pretending everything was okay. I could act like this as long as I thought we were both cheating, but as soon as I found out that she was faithful to me, it hit me hard. I couldn't bring myself to look into her eyes. I couldn't even bring myself to make love to her, because a cheater's touch on her would defile her. I really ruined my marriage and ruined my life. It was very stupid. All I had to do at the time was just walk up and say, "This is what's going on, and this is why I think so," and we could discuss everything. After overhearing the conversation in the locker room, I had no doubt that there was a reasonable explanation for the suitcases in her trunk, but I never gave her a chance to explain herself. I was totally fucked. I couldn't look at her face. I didn't have the courage to sit down and tell her what I had done and why. I was a coward, and I did what cowards do. I ran away. I went to my boss, told him that I had caught my wife cheating and was going to move on. I like the company and I like the job I do, and if you have a vacancy somewhere else, I would like to move there. If not, then I'll probably have to apply. He picked up the phone, called, and I was on my way to Colorado. I told him that my wife would probably be looking for me to cause trouble, and I asked him to tell her that I left without warning and that he had no idea where I had gone. The next day, while Patty was at work, I loaded all my stuff into the pickup truck. At the last minute, I wrote a simple note, "I'm sorry," and put it on the kitchen table. It was disgusting for her, of course, but she'll get over it in time. She deserved better than me. She will be able to get a divorce as abandoned and move on. It happened 14 months ago, and in those 14 months, not a day went by that I didn't think about Patty and what we had and I ruined so stupidly. Fortunately, I had a lot of work. Work occupied my thoughts and hands for 10 to 12 hours a day, but the nights were killing me, and waking up alone in the morning was murderous. When I first came to a new job, I decided to go to a bar after work and drown my sorrows, but it passed quickly. Going to work every morning with a hangover wasn't very good, and beer ruined everything the gym and running had done for me. So I got in the van, found a local gym, and started getting in shape. After staying there for 6 months, I noticed several women who seemed to be interested in me, but I didn't take the initiative. My head was still full of thoughts about Patty, and I didn't know if the day would ever come when I would be able to think about another woman. I opened the statement from Kanoko and saw that I had overpaid and received a loan, so I tore it up and threw it in the trash. I didn't open the visa application. I knew damn well that I didn't have a loan for this account, and I wouldn't make the payment until the next paycheck, so I put it in my pocket. I picked up the letter from Patty and stared at it. I held it up to my nose and imagined that I could smell her, and then I threw it in the trash. "Is that all?" A voice came from behind me. "You don't even open the letters, but just throw them away?" I turned around and saw Patty. "Hi, Jerry, it's been a while." I just stared at her. I couldn't even run away because she was between me and the door. Who bit your tongue? However, there is nothing to be surprised about. You've always been a man of few words. I got 2 words when you left, and I don't even know what you're sorry about. I've been thinking about it all last year. I'll never understand why you wasted an extra word. You could have done it with just 1 word, goodbye. Come on, Jerry, say something. How did you find me? I won't tell you. If you run away again, I may have to use the same method again. I'm not going to give you another opportunity to cover your tracks. The point is, I'm here and I'm not leaving until I know everything. Not here. Let's go to my house. So what in the name of all that's holy made you think I was cheating on you? You had many classic signs of cheating on your wife. And suddenly you're working late, even though you've never done it before. Increased activity with your husband because you either felt guilty or your lover had wound you up by the time you had to go home. So your husband had to put out the fire. Or maybe because you liked giving your husband your lover's leftovers. Evenings when you stayed for a drink with your colleagues, who kept you late and late. Then I found suitcases in your trunk full of clothes that you never wore for me. And that's all along with the fact that I came to the Christmas party and saw you fighting with a guy while all your colleagues were yelling at you to get a room and go to a motel. They wouldn't talk like that if they weren't sure you were lovers. It all came down to cheating on his wife. You poor, stupid fool. Why didn't you talk to me? The suitcases belonged to Anne. I told you the airline lost her luggage. They found him, but by that time Anne was already in the hospital on a stretcher and asked me to pick up the luggage. And the overtime was real. All you had to do was look at my receipts. I knew it bothered you, and I tried to make it up to you. As for Christmas, it didn't mean anything. I drank too much. I was mad at you for not being there to give me a Christmas kiss under the mistletoe. So I grabbed Mike. Yes, it was unnecessary, but if you had stayed, you would have seen how we broke up and went to different tables, and he didn't even dance with me all evening. God, Jerry, I can't believe you just left me like that and didn't even try to explain. That's not why I left you. I left because of myself, because of what I did in response. And what did you do? I took a deep breath and told her about Sally and Marla and everyone else and how I was able to keep the marriage going because my cheating kept me on an equal footing with her cheating. And then when I found out that you weren't cheating, my life just fell apart. I couldn't look you in the eye knowing what I'd done to you. And I realized that you deserved better than a cheating asshole, so I left. She sat and looked at me, trying to make sense of my words, and then she said, "How did you know that I'm not really cheating?" I told her about the conversation I overheard in the gym. Her face turned a little pale, and she said, "My God, what the hell?" She kept looking at me and shaking her head. "Let's see if I got it right. You thought I was cheating, so you cheated so we be even, right?" I said yes, and she continued, "So, while we were even, you thought that we could continue to live together and that everything would be fine. Everything would be fine, right?" I nodded. "It wasn't until you made sure I wasn't cheating that everything went to hell, right?" I said yes again. "So if you'd never heard that conversation in the gym, would we still be living together? Would you still be playing with your girls while staying with me?" "Maybe." She looked at me for another minute and then asked, "Did you love me?" "Yes, I did. And I still do. The only reason I stayed with you, thinking you were cheating, was because I loved you so much that I couldn't leave you. You know I love you, don't you? My arrival should show this. I was devastated when you left, and I didn't know what led to this. I need you in my life, Jerry. I need you to come home with me, or I'll move here to be with you. But one way or another with you, Jerry, with you, please." "I can't, Patty. After all this, I just can't. Being with you is a constant reminder of what a cheater I was. I just can't look you in the eye every day knowing what I've done. But would you be able to do it if I cheated on you? While we were even, you could look me in the eye, right?" I nodded. "Then come home, Jerry, because we're even." "I cheated on you. You were right. You just used the wrong information, but you came to the right conclusions. At night, when I was working overtime, Mike and I made love like a couple of lovesick rabbits. It started one night, just before we finished our shift. We bumped into each other, looked at each other, and it was like a spark passed between us. He just grabbed me, turned me over, bent over the packing case and took me. And I let him. I didn't say a word. I just let him take me. After that, almost every night when we were working overtime, he would catch me in a dark corner or behind a pile of boxes and use me. I never said no. I never agreed. I just let him take me. I loved making love, not Mike. I didn't even kiss him. That kiss at the Christmas party was our first and only kiss. I had a husband who loved me and whom I was crazy about, and who made fantastic, passionate love to me. And then I went and ruined everything. Did you ruin everything? How? You started acting a little weird, and I thought you suspected something. The overheard conversation was rigged. It was supposed to calm you down and keep you from finding out that Mike and I screwed up. Instead, he separated us. If I hadn't tried to cheat, we would still be together. You'd be with me, thinking we were on equal terms. You mean you're going to make love to Mike anyway? No, Jerry, it's a bitter irony. That fake conversation that turned you away from me also ended my relationship with Mike. That night, when we were working overtime, he brought those two guys with whom he had a conversation and told me that everything was played out properly, and now the three of them are going to use me. So I left him. Since that night, all I've been doing is working and trying to find you. I need you, Jerry. I'm not a person without you. Please, honey, can we put the past behind us and start over? We are behaving like children. Can we, Please, start all over again? I stared at her, my mind racing at 100 miles an hour. I loved her to death and missed her so much that not a day went by that I didn't think and want to be with her. But will I be able to go through it again? She must have read my mind. It will never happen again, Jerry. I can promise you that. The last 14 months have been a living hell, Jerry. They have been the most miserable in my life. Living without you is killing me, and I will never do anything to put you through this hell again. Please, Jerry, I'm begging you, come back to me. At home or here, just let me be with you. There was really no question about what to do. I only ran away from her because I thought I was unworthy. I loved her very much, and if she wanted me to come back knowing everything about me, I'd be a fool if I refused. As for her cheating, I had already come to terms with it when I started playing the stay equal game. Will we be able to? We must. She loved me enough to lie to me, pretending to be the cheater she never was. She never had an affair with Mike. She just told me about it so that I would believe that we were even, so that I would come home. How do I know? I went back to my gym, and one morning Mike came in. I don't know why, but I looked at him for a long time, and after a while he came up to me and asked, "Do I know you?" "No, but you knew my wife well enough to have an affair with her." "Hey, what are you sculpting, man? I haven't had any affairs with married women. Have you forgotten about the affair with Patty Bradley?" "Damn it, it didn't happen. Why do you think I was having an affair with Patty?" She confessed herself. "I've told you everything." He shook his head. "I would love to, but this Christmas kiss is all that ever happened. It's not that I haven't tried. The conversation you overheard is true. I do not know why she wants you to think that I was her lover. All I can say is that this is what I wanted, and I tried damn hard to make it happen, but she never even gave me a chance. Damn, I was stunned when I got that Christmas kiss. Will I ever tell Patty about my conversation with Mike? No. I'm not going to do anything that could overturn the apple cart. She actually bought me this base boat, and at some perverse moment I named the boat and wrote the name in big gold letters on both sides. Every time Patty and I board Mike's fun, it reminds each